Hello, this is Brandon for English 200, and I will be talking about Goodfellas today, which is one of my favorite movies. It is about Henry Hill, who is a who was a FBI informant before he was actually a associate. He worked for the mob, but he was in a full-on um, part of the mafia. Well, anyways, it's about him telling his story about from when he was a kid to when he's an adult and when he becomes an FBI informant. So, starting out, he lived in New York in a Italian American neighborhood. He he didn't have the best upbringing. His father beat him. He hung out with the wrong crowd. He even quit school just so he can pursue this career because he just wanted to be a gangster and ended up paying more money. He just wanted money. Was really good apparently for him at that time, and it was 1950, so he started getting into this and he started to get involved, and eventually he started to meet up with this man named Paul Cicero, who's apparently the leader of this crew, the family. And well, what happens is that as a kid, he's doing all this type of robbery and stuff. He gets arrested, but he gets acquitted from charges, and his um his personality as a kid is just this rambunctious youth who's just wants to be a part of something bigger. He wants more. He wants more out of this life. He doesn't want to just sit there and work. He wants something different. So this is what he wants. And the part where he starts changing is, well, he starts getting worse is when he actually grows up and he becomes an adult. He meets up with Jimmy Conway and Tommy 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 DeVito, or Tommy DeSimone in real life, and that's where things start to getting really bad. Jimmy Burke, or I'm sorry, not Jimmy Burke, Jimmy Conway, and Henry Hill, they can't be part of the family because they're both half Italian. They're both half Irish, but uh, to, or but Joe Pesci's character. Sorry, I forgot the name. I was gonna say Danny DeVito for some reason, but anyways, Joe Pesci's character, he's full of talent, so he can be a mobster. So it basically tells them what they used to do is they used to go ahead and still trucks of cigarettes. They used to pay off people. They used to bribe the cops. They all kinds of bad stuff, extortion, robbery, and but and Henry has he meets up with his wife Karen. And the thing is that he changed. He even though he's a rough guy and he works with the mob, he still has respect for women. When this one guy goes ahead and I think he hits her or something, he goes over to him and he starts beating him senseless with with the handle of a revolver. I know it sounds pretty violent, but he was protecting her. And they have respect for women, so don't mess with our women. Another thing is that there's this one part where one of the mobsters got shot, and he was using some cloth to try to save the guy's life, and all the other people are like, "You're wasting towels. Now we have to wash the towels." So, you know, despite being a mobster, he still has some sense of humility. Like he still can. He still cares about stuff. He's just not a full-on gonna kill people, and things start to get even worse, especially when they meet up with Joe Pesci's character's old associate, or who he used to shine shoes for. His name is Billy Bass, and he's a made man. That meaning a made man is a person who actually is in the mafia, and you cannot touch. Can't kill unless you have a really good reason. You have to talk to the person of that crew. You have to talk to the leader of that crew why you want this person dead. But what happens is he goes ahead, he says a really bad insult to him. He gets mad. He walks off, and later on he comes and kills him, and they bury his body. And that's one of the things that contribute to how bad things get. And what happens is that it gets progressively worse, because eventually Henry Hill is selling drugs. He's selling cocaine, and he even gets hooked on it too. He starts being a junkie, and things start to get really bad. He gets arrested, and eventually Tommy dies because of that murder that he committed by killing a made man. And in real life, his body's, they could never find his body. He's like Jimmy Hoffa. They have no idea. He just disappeared. And then after that, things just gotten worse. He was really good friends with, Jimmy Conway and the whole crazy family. But things just started to get bad to where they're worried that he's going to rat them out. And my favorite line is that your enemies don't come to you. You should worry when your friends come to you with a smile, because at that time he didn't really have money. He wasn't selling any more money. He wasn't selling any more drugs, and he was worried that that Jimmy was going to kill him. And there's actually this part where they're going to have him go somewhere, and they have to do this job. I think it's in Florida. And what happens is that he knows that when he goes there, he's never going to come back. So he becomes a FBI informant, and in order to protect his family, he has children now and his wife. In order to protect his family, he becomes an FBI informant, and he basically tells them that these are the men involved in the crime. These are the people who committed this whole Lufthansa heist. They stole all this money, and that's when things just started to get really bad, to the point where he had to actually rat on his own friends, because you know, he was worried about being killed by the very people that he grew up with. And, yeah. And alright, that's my first topic. My second topic is about the search for identity is more complicated when adolescents have no parents. Well, I can give a good example. For instance, myself, my mom had me when I was 19, and my dad wasn't around. In my 20s, I tried looking for myself for the longest time, and it took me about 20 years to finally find myself. I've had a really hard life, and not having a father figure is certainly, it affects people. It really affects people. That's why it's sad for me to see people not have a father, or because I empathize with them. I know what it's like. My father's a complete loser. He's just like less cooler Henry Hill, just coked up, and I don't even know where the hell he is now. I got in contact with him for a little bit, but he was a bit of a loser, so I just distanced myself from him. And I sure as don't want my son being around him, because even at a young age, he was always been rough, and he's always been doing drugs, and so I don't want that. So, I had a hard life. I had a really bad anger problem. I got into fights a lot. My stepdad wasn't much of a help, and but you know what? Despite everything, I'm glad I had a loving family. My grandpa, my grandma, my great-grandma, my great-grandpa, my uncle, my aunties, my mom. I thank them for that, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them, and I thank them. It's rare for somebody, especially me, who doesn't have a father, to actually end up turning not too bad, but it's a huge effect on people. And the final one, Dick does not. Ragged Dick is he's a good character. He definitely does not start becoming Henry Hill. He doesn't go ahead. He even claims he doesn't even steal, so he's definitely in no way, shape, or form